It's been quite a while since I've really uploaded any kind of videos to my channel. Um, I will, at some point, have an update video, but this is a very, very important video for me to make because I was asked to do it. And I don't really get asked to do a lot of things, but anyone who's known me for a long time knows that I have a crippling addiction to World of Warcraft. Um, it's not something I'm very proud of. It's not something that I necessarily like to flaunt around, but either way, I do play World of Warcraft. Any long-time viewers of my channel will know I have a few shitpost videos out there. Anyway, I was asked, "Hey, yo, Batman, what's your opinion on the expansions? What would you where would you rank them?" So that's exactly what I'm going to do here today. I am going to be ranking my personal favorite um, WoW expansion. So let's start off with vanilla. All right, vanilla. I'm gonna put you in good. Okay. Now, I know a lot of people are going to get really pissed off at me for saying that, and I don't think that. Like, I played classic, I played vanilla. I think that it was good. It was the first expansion that started everything. There would be no WoW without vanilla. That's just how it is. I gotta give it some respect, but there are some issues that I had with it. Balancing, it was the first of its kind. It wasn't perfect, but it was revolutionary. All right. So that's where Burning Crusade comes in. And I'm going to put this into like the best. It's one of the best expansions. So it's basically World of Warcraft perfected. Or rather, vanilla World of Warcraft perfected. It did everything that I pretty much wanted from vanilla WoW. Um, Balancing was added. You had Draenei added to the game, Blood Elves to the game as well. So every side, every faction, Alliance and Horde had equal. They were like on equal footing. I do understand that in um, vanilla there was like, oh, you Horde might have shamans, but Alliance has paladins. I didn't really like that. So I thought that Burning Crusade did that. Plus, they added in flying mounts. I know that it was kind of wonky to start, but it was basically vanilla perfected. And so, with that, we're going to go into Wrath. Yeah, I'm not stupid. I'm putting Wrath in one of the best expansions. That felt like World of Warcraft at its peak. The story was at its climax. The character writing was perfect. The quests were perfect. I didn't really like the idea of adding in a dungeon finder. That was kind of just a little wonky thing that they added in, but nonetheless, TLDR, it was again a revolutionary expansion. They knocked it out of the park with that one. And to me, that's kind of like the true World of Warcraft, what everyone thinks of when they think of WoW. So where do we go after that? Well, we go to Cataclysm. Yeah, I'm gonna put in okay. I'll take it. It wasn't a bad expansion per se. It just didn't really do much. The raids weren't particularly great, which is disappointing because Deathwing was the main expansion boss. I didn't particularly like Vastier. It added in furries, it added in goblins. I mean, I just, it wasn't, it could have been better. If they just left more time in the oven, I think that maybe they could have done things, but it also did add in really good systems like the transmog system. I mean, you can't forget about that. Um, so now we're gonna go on to Missa Pandaria. Instantly going into good tier, right up with World of Warcraft. That was the first expansion I truly like got invested in. That I leveled like 1 to 90. This was also around the time when Activision Blizzard kind of merged. Um, uh, where do I start with this one? Classes, perfect. Visual aesthetic, perfect. I hated Pandaren. I don't care about Pandaren. They could burn fucking fire along with the other furries. But fuck me, man. I gotta give them props. They did an outstanding job. The only complaint I have is the reputation grinds and I mean I'm getting kind of like BC flashbacks. Um and I mean that's about it, too much reputation and too many dailies. I mean there was also a really long content drought with Siege of Orgrimmar. So there's that. Take from it what you will. But I thought it was a really, really banger expansion. Um, Warlords of Draenor. Yeah, going with Cataclysm. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a great expansion, but it started out great, and then it continually just stayed mid. But it started out so good, and so many ideas were there that were great that it just kind of like evens it out to like kind of a middle of the road experience. Again, it was just the content. There was barely anything in it when you got by the end of the expansion. It's just, and that's really when Blizzard kind of became the Blizzard we know today. Except one exception, there was a little follow up, which is my favorite expansion by far. And that would be Legion. That is going at best. The classes in Class Fantasy was perfect. I loved the artifact weapons. Um, didn't particularly like the system that was around it, but I liked the idea of you getting a weapon that either from lore or for something like. I mean, transmog exists. You don't have to use it, but the abilities. The PvP was the most fun. I played Locke then, and it was fantastic. I would do rated battlegrounds, and we even did a thing called AIDS Comp, where we just had all Affliction locks, and then we had Death Knights. I think they were Blood Death Knights. But it was the most fun that I had. It just fucking around in battlegrounds. Raiding was also really good too. I loved the raiding scene. In that. I mean, where do I go from that? It also had some of the best transmogs in the game, some of the best class sets. I mean, my only complaint was the legendary system and the mage tower. I didn't like how that went. So next up, anyway, continuing on, Battle for Azeroth. Bad. Had some good ideas. I liked the visual aesthetics, but visuals don't go all the way. They really, really fucked up with the Azerite system. That was one of the worst implemented systems in the game, and I know Corrupted Gear kind of came in later, but I'm talking about like 90% of it. Like, that's when I first kind of dropped off and stopped playing the game. That's not to mention the writing really took a hit. Like, Legion was the last okay expansion. But Battle for Azeroth, I did not like the story. As a matter of fact, I downright hated it. it was... I saw where they were trying to go. They were trying to give the classic WoW feel again, Alliance versus Horde, but it just did not work. And then again, the tables that they started with Warlords of Draenor, those were just awful. This was the peak of when it was the worst. Legion was like, okay, I don't like this, but I'll deal with it. And then this was just absolute garbage. And then that's where we get to Shadowlands. I don't think I'm saying anything particularly controversial. This was the first expansion that I skipped out on after like the first patch. I did not do a majority of the content in it because it just felt so lackluster. No one was playing, no one was doing anything. The only thing you had was Mythic Plus, which sucks. I hate Mythic Plus, I'm sorry, but I don't care about Mythic Plus. I care about raiding, I care about PvP. That's all I care about. Dungeons can be fun with friends, but I don't have friends. So, I had no reason to do Mythic Plus. The last time I did it was in Legion. It was fun then. It was a nice little thing, but there's that. There was Torghast, I believe it was called. That sucked. I didn't care about that at all. The story was by far the worst story. I mean, there's a reason why the jailer is still memed on to this day. And yeah, it just was an awful expansion. I think that nearly killed WoW. If it wasn't for Classic, I think that it would have probably gone under. But in a more fortunate thing, it did lead to Dragonflight. Now I'm gonna put... Yeah, I love Dragonflight. It was one of the best expansions that I played, the most fun I ever had. Content was fresh and new. I loved the art design of it. The reputation system wasn't overly awful. I liked how everything's starting to turn account bound. I liked the lore for the beginning of it. It got really bad later on when it just became Fast and Furious kind of fan fiction. Had an abysmal ending, but for the majority of it, I had a lot of fun. I felt that it went in a similar direction that Mists of Pandaria went. It was more so exploration based. And I really like that about certain expansions. You'll notice that. WoW Classic, BC, exploration. Even a little bit of Wrath, but there was still the story. Legion, not so much expansion, kind of like going about. Cataclysm, Warlords Draenor, not too much. Yeah, the rest of them, no. But this one truly felt like it was kind of a return to form, just dropping you in, go out, do this, whatever you want to do. You want to go be a mindless dirt slave, you could go do that. You want to go out and you want to, follow the main campaign, go ahead and do that. You want to go out and do whatever the content patch is right now. You could go ahead and do that. You want to farm for gold and stuff, you could go ahead and do that. The roleplay scene, I feel, was at its best here as well. Last time I felt that was back in Legion. But, it wasn't a perfect one. It wasn't perfect. Like I said, they kind of botched the ending. And it had the same problem that Mists of Pandaria had, which was it had a little too much to do. But I would rather have too much to do than too little to do. And that's where we get to the War Within. I absolutely hate this expansion. I am sorry, but I hate it. I know it's not the worst, but personally, I despise it. I hate the aesthetic of it. I hate the story of it. I hate the gameplay changes of it. The only reason I log on is to do farming and for even roleplay, and even that's kind of taken a hit. But I liked the idea of delves. That is the only thing I will give this expansion. Delves are kind of fun. but they were botched on release. The the model that they had about it was just bad. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to put it on the same level as Shadowlands. It goes in bad. It's just a bad expansion. Um, that said, there is some good in it. It kind of has all the rest of this stuff. So if you're, it's probably a good starting point, I would say, um, because you can. I mean, you have time walking, you have all sorts of stuff. The anniversary event was really good. I'm just talking about the main campaign, the main like chunk of it, like Kaz Algar, whatever it is called, with the bearded ladies. I don't care. Um, Zalatath, the knife mommy. I don't care about her. Um, I think she's a very poor villain. Um, I don't care that Anduin Rin is back. I don't care about the cast now. They were ruined past Legion. Shadowlands completely ruined their characters, and that's why I liked Dragonflight. It gave us new characters. Say whatever you want about them, good or bad, but it didn't fuck up anything prior. Um, it was just the writing was still awful. Um, you got less content than you did in Dragonflight to start out with. You had the abysmal launch of it with the whole and I'm not meaning like the launch day. It ran fine for me at least, but what I'm meaning is the like early access to the expansion. That was scummy as shit from Blizzard. So yeah, that's a straight up bad expansion. But anyway, you wanted to hear my opinions on this. And you guys got it. You got my shitty opinion on World of Warcraft. As someone who has played pretty much consistently ever since Miss Pandaria. I played the rest of them. I played every expansion a little bit here and there, but Miss was really where I kicked off in. I really got hooked in that expansion. But that's just my opinion on it. Call it garbage, call it great. Um, I mean it's whatever. So anyway, that's it. So yeah.